that there is Buddy. After John Shield showed up with that bumper, he brought his 2 dogs. We decided Jessie needed a playmate. My daughter's birthday's next week and she wanted a puppy more than anything else. She said she'd end up getting a lot of presents and playing with things once or twice, never to play with them again. She wanted a puppy for her birthday, and that's where Buddy came into play. And I'm sure you'll be seeing a lot more of him, along with Jessie, in the videos to come. Rather cool day here in central Iowa. Cloudy. It did start to clear up a little while ago, and the sun was nice and warm, but it's cloudy now. Temperature, I don't know, lower 70s, I believe. Actually feels pretty cool, although this weekend it's supposed to heat up. Come on, buddy. Shop dog number 2. Suppose I could turn that off. Well, there he is. He's been down here some. He pretty much just lays over there by the bench, just like Jessie did when she was a pup. But we'll put some light on the subject here, and I'm gonna start wiring this up. My wife's bringing home some zip ties for me, but I'll show you what I have. So I got a couple new spools of wire, black and red 14 gauge, and you saw this in the last video. So that will be going in the truck. Got 100 feet of, I think this is quarter inch wire loom. Only has to hold 1 to 2 wires, so that ought to be fine. Got a package here. These are the fuse holders. And then down here, these are the wire taps, which I'm dumping fuses out, which isn't exactly what I thought I was getting, but I think it may actually work out better. They have these little, I think these are mini fuses. And but the end of it will fit. I already tried one out. This end will fit right into the fuse box, and then you put one fuse in that the bottom position, and that replaces the fuse that was in the fuse box, and then you put one in the top, and that is a fuse for this wire, and this will go to the switch. And there's not a lot of room in there to put something like this, but there's a couple of spots, and I really only need one. And then in this here box these are the relays. So you got, this will plug in to the relay, and then you got all your pigtails that you can connect to wherever they need to go. And I will link all this stuff down below in the description. So if you're doing such a thing, it'll be quick and easy for you. Just click on those links, take you right to what I used in this video. And doing electrical wiring, I don't know why, but it's one of my least favorite things to do. I just don't enjoy it very much. But I'm going to take my time on this and do it right, and everything should be good. And like I said in my last video, I'm going to get rid of this kind of thing. And also get rid of just these single wires that are kind of running around. There aren't very many of them, but there's a couple. I already pulled this one out, actually 2 of them out. This went to the switch in the cab to run the lights that I have mounted underneath the truck on the frame. There's this wire and then this one. And I'm repositioning that switch over here, which is going to be this one, I believe. I think I'm going to have this one so it turns on the light bar and the pods, so everything on the bumper will come on. This one will be just the light bar, this one will be just the pods, this one will be the lights that I have mounted on the frame underneath the truck. And like I said, my wife's bringing me home a pack of zip ties. She's coming from Des Moines, and once she gets here, then I'm going to get started wiring up the truck. Well, it is the next day. And I'll tell you why here in just a minute, but the clouds, it's cloudy out right now, but these clouds are going to burn off and it's going to start heating up a little bit today. Then it looks like for about the next week it's going to be rather warm. But the reason it's the next day, I got these wires wrapped up last night in this loom. This took quite a while. I measured off from where I'm going to have the switches through the firewall and up around to where I'm going to mount the relays, which I'll show you here in just a minute. And then I cut four pieces of wire that length, or about that length anyway. There should be plenty. Put them in this loom. This loom, it's 1/4-inch loom, and for 4 wires you can do it, but it took quite a while. 3/8 loom might be better. If you're going to run 4 switches, I'd probably use 3/8. But I got them in this, and I taped it up every once in a while, and I just got done taping the whole thing. I just ran tape around the whole loom, whole length of it. And then these relays, I was looking at it last night, and I think where I'm going to put them is right in here. And I fit 4 of them up in there, and they fit okay. I'm going to put one there, one there, one over here, and maybe one kind of down there. This hinge, when you close the hood, it will pass by these, not by a lot, but it will. So if something would ever go wrong or something, that this would tweak over that way a little bit, you could hit these. I don't think that would happen. There's probably, I don't know, 1/4 of an inch, 3/8 of an inch gap between that arm and the edge of these. But that's where I'm going to put them. So now I just need to take this wire loom and run it from where I'm going to have the switches, which is where the ashtray is, and I'm going to run it, well, I'll try to show you here real quick. I'm not sure how good you can see inside the cab. I'm going to run it from where the ashtray is up under here, and I put a hole through the firewall, which after I get the wire loom in there, I'll probably take some of this stuff and go all around the loom and fill that hole all in with this once I'm done. Anything like that would probably work, silicone, whatever. So now I'm going to get this wire loom run up under the hood and over to where I'm going to put the relays, and hopefully it all turns out. So I have my wires run from inside where the ashtray, or where the new switch panel is going to be, through the firewall over here, and I got it running right across the top there. And coming down here, I think I'll just zip tie it off right here. Comes down, and I've got a little extra here. But right now I'm going to get the relays, and I'm going to get them attached to the fender here, and then we can hook these wires up that go to the, or that come from the switch, and then hook the switches up, hook the lights up. What do you think, buddy? Anyway, I got my relays, put it in here, and I was going to record doing that, but I couldn't find a good place for the camera. I was going to set it out here, but I needed to be here, and if I put it over here, you wouldn't be able to see what I was doing at all. Anyway, I just used a self-tapping screw to mount those on the inner fender. Just one of these little suckers right here. And now I'm going to take the switch panel and take it and wire up all the switches to that wiring harness. And I'll try to get a light set up here so you can see what the heck I'm doing. I mean, I'm just taking some wires and hooking them onto the switch. Well, before I hook all these switches up, I took that socket that was in there that had the light, and I just cut the wires on it. This worked, and I put a blue light in there with that end piece on it, so the light's going to kind of shine back against here. Not going to make a lot of light, but it should be enough to be able to see the switches. And I drilled a hole in the top of this, fit it down through, and I've got that. I've got this stuff. It takes a couple hours for that to cure, and it's that time of year. I'm going to have to go get my daughter from school anyway, so I'll get back on that in just a little bit. Well, I have a little time, and while I'm waiting for that to set up, I guess I could go ahead and put this fuse link in, get this put in, run a wire over to the switches so I can hook all them up, which on the end of that wire, I'm going to have to solder 4 wires to go to the switch, each switch. That makes sense? I'll show you here. Can't really record in the truck very good. The lighting is just terrible, and I can't really get in there and do anything and show you what I'm doing. And it's windy out here. But basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this 15 amp fuse out up here, which runs, I think it runs the dome light, your cargo lights. If you have power mirrors, it runs those, I think, and a couple other things that I don't even have. I'm going to pull that fuse out, put that fuse link in with the 2 fuses, and then run a wire from that fuse link back up under the dash so I can hook it up to each one of the switches. So I'll get a length of wire that I need. So I have this fuse tab installed. I know the lighting isn't very good. Got it right up in there. Fits perfect. Got this wire run down, run back behind here, and then I've got my 4 pigtails out of that go to each switch. And it has been 2 hours. This stuff said it cures in 2 hours, but it's not cured yet. So I'm gonna have to wait just a little bit, because if I bump that, darn thing's liable to come out and I'll have to start all over again. And I just realized I ran all these wires. I have no idea which wire is gonna go to which switch in there. So I may have to play around with them a little bit, or just however I hook them up, that's how they are. So I called it a night last night, and we are here in the next day. And the locusts, cicadas, whatever, are making a racket today, but it's a hot day today. It's supposed to be heat index middle 90s, something like that. Humid. But we're gonna get back to work on the truck. Maybe you can see things a little bit better now. I know the lighting isn't the greatest out here. So, like I said in my last little clip, I had all those pigtails come out here. Not a big deal. I can switch them around, so I can make whatever switch inside the truck activate whichever relay I want. So not a big deal. I went ahead and I got these all connected, the switches to the relays. I also have the power wire. It's hooked up, and I need to get all the grounds. I'm going to tie them all together and ground them off somewhere. At least I think that's what I'm going to do. Then all I need to do is take the yellow wires and run to whatever lights I want to run them to. Okay, so getting things hooked up here. Each one of these relays, this first relay goes to the first switch, second goes to the second, third to the third, fourth to the fourth. And I've had this pod light hooked up and the light bar hooked up. Pod light draws 0.5 amp. Light bar draws 3.6. So in total, with all these lights running, you're looking at 5.6 amps. And if you don't know how to do that, let's see, my voltmeter is still hooked up. And if you don't know how to do that, I've still got my voltmeter hooked up here. And your voltmeter might be different, but on mine, you have to move the positive. It was over here. You move it over to here to check amps, move this down to DC 10 amp, and then you wire this into the circuit. So here's the power wire coming from the relay, connected onto one end of your multimeter. Doesn't really matter which one, it'll just read negative if you hook it up backwards. So this one's connected here, and then the wire that runs into the light bar for power, you follow it around, it comes up and is tied into the other end that goes into the multimeter. So then if you flip the switch on, which I have it just hooked up to number 1 right now, light bar is on, you come up here and it's reading negative 3.634, somewhere right in there, 3.6 amp. So now I just have to connect the yellow wires coming off of those relays down to pods, light bar, get them all hooked up to whichever relay I want to be controlled by whichever switch I want, and get everything all tied up. This will be done. So I finally got these all hooked up. I did it a little bit different. I have one switch that does the pods, one switch that does the light bar, because to make them all come on at once and also have it separate where you can turn them on individually, I don't think I'm set up to do that. Because to have them all come on, you have to have power to everything. If you want just the light bar to come on, of course you have power just to the light bar. And just for the pods, then you need power just to the pods. But if you're going to do that, if you have something connecting all of it together for that switch, then when you turn on something else, it's going to backfeed into that. It just worked out easier to do it this way. So if you want everything on, you have to flip 2 frickin' switches. Not that big of a deal. But they do work. And I got my panel in here, of course you can't see, and all of my lights are gone. Let me get a light. Well, not the best light. I think it's kind of starting to go dead, but I got that put in here. And the first switch is the pods. So we got them on. And second switch is, what do you think it is? The light bar. They actually are pretty darn bright. And then I hooked up the third switch. And the third switch runs the lights that I have underneath. And you can't see them all together from in here. I don't think. No, you can't. But I'll wait till it's dark. I'll pull it outside and let you see what it looks like. Well, it's starting to get dark outside. I want to pull this out and show the lights to you. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. It's not completely dark, but it's dim. So shut the hood on this sucker, and we'll pull her on outside. And there you have it. That's with all the bumper lights on. And now we have just the light bar. And the only other option we have is just the pods. So there's just the pods. Well, I take that back. There is one more option. We can turn all the lights on, plus the underneath lights. And that's what that looks like. Well, and then I take that back. There is yet another option. Now, besides the underneath lights and these fabulous bumper lights, if you've been following my channel for a while, you also know I have bed lights. But I think that looks pretty darn good. And I think I'm going to take it out on the road and just see how it looks. Okay, so this is high beam and it's just getting dusk, so lights aren't really lighting things up too much. But okay, there's low beam, high beam, low and high beam, but there's high beam. I can flip on these side lights. Where's the switch? Flip on the side lights. Whoops, that's not the side lights. There's the side lights. And then I'll flip on, here's the pods, I think. And here is the light bar. And I haven't adjusted them at all, so might be able to get a little more light shining at them, but I think that's pretty good right where it is. I mean, you could point them up a little more, probably get it to shine out a little farther, but that's pretty good. So we'll shut the light bar off That's just the pods. Shut everything off. That's the headlights. Now here are the pods and the light bar all together. Big difference, makes my headlights look pretty darn yellow. I don't even know what you can see. It doesn't look like I can see anything. That's low beam. There's high beam. I will turn on, I can't remember what switch is what. Okay, I think this is the pods. This is the light bar with the pods. And underneath lights. This black road really absorbs the light. In my viewfinder, it doesn't look like you can see hardly anything, but that proves to be different once I get into editing sometimes. I'll shut the light, let's see, I'll shut these side lights off. Oops, there, shut everything off. So that's headlights. My viewfinders looks dark. And here's all the bumper lights. So one more time, boy, my viewfinder just looks like you can't see anything, but I have my high beams on. Here are the pods. Pods with light bar. And then the side lights, which I don't know if they even showed up. Sometimes things show up that I just can't see in the viewfinder on this camera. Well, I hope that's showing up somewhat good. Doesn't look good on my camera, but we'll see how it goes. It makes a big, huge difference. So I guess I didn't have my headlights on before, and they look pretty pathetic now. They look pretty darn yellow. I think I'm gonna have to do something about that. If nothing else, just LED bulbs. But yeah, gonna have to do something about the headlights, I think. So there you go. I hope that video turned out okay. It sure didn't look good on my viewfinder, but I'll see when I get into editing and whatever. And I know I said I'd get more into the relay business, which I don't really know what else to get into. I told you how this hooks up. It's an electronic switch. Get power from the battery that goes from a fuse, hooks into pin number 30. Pin 85 goes to ground, 86 comes from the switch, which gets power from the fuse box, and 87 goes to your lights, and the lights then are also grounded. But the reason you'd want to use a relay, really in this application, we're only drawing, what, 5.6 amps total for all the lights on the bumper. And these switches that I have, these were rated for 20 amps. So really, if you had a fuse in line and ran a switch like that, you'd probably be okay. But I still think the right way to do it is with a relay, and the reason for that is you keep all the power under the hood, basically. You're not going to have much amperage draw up on the switch in the cab, which if you would happen to be running a lot of lights or a great big light bar or something like that, you could be drawing quite a few amps. And if you just ran a switch, that's all going through the switch up in the cab. And if something goes wrong, I just think you have a lot better protection with a relay under the hood. It's fused right to the battery, and it's just the right way to do it. And I'm going to mention again, send in your license plates. Let's expand the license plate wall. Or anything else that you want to send into the Fox Shop. Address is down below. Also a link down there for channel stickers, t-shirts, hoodies, all that kind of good stuff. That's down in the description as well. Also a link down in the description for these bumpers. This came from John Scheel, and that's his business right up there. But there's a link down in the description if you are interested in one of these bumpers, front bumper, rear bumper, side steps. Don't be afraid to get a hold of him. Ask him what's what, see what he can do for you. Really nice guy, and he can get you into your very own. And if you didn't see the first video on that bumper, go check it out. So that's going to do it for this video. Give it a thumbs up, comment down below, subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.